Walk into any home decor shop and you'll see beautiful boxes that you can purchase to store all kinds of things around the house, and holiday boxes to store greeting cards. But I've created the perfect container for storing hand-stamped cards that I received during the holidays. And after all, those are the cards we like to keep forever. Why spend money purchasing a fancy box when you can go green and reuse an empty tissue box and have fun creating a beautiful greeting card holder in exactly the colors and patterns to match your home decor? Let me show you the tools and products you're going to need to make this box. First, you're going to need a ScorePal scoring board. You're also going to need some cardstock. You're going to need some ribbon. You're going to need some different patterned papers, which I'll show you in just a second. And then you're going to need some good quality tape. And in this case, I'm using the score tape because it's very, very strong and it will bond for these types of three-dimensional projects in a way that sometimes tape runners can't. Okay, you're also going to need a box of Kleenex. And I have a brand new box here, but you can just use the Kleenex, and then when it's all empty, then you can just pull the box apart. Let me start by showing you how to pull this box apart the proper way. What you're going to do is, on the side here, you'll see where it's attached together. You're going to lift that apart and pretty much take this box apart. Now, for those of you who have the type of tissue holders where you actually take the tissue out and then you just pop it into the tissue holder, that's great because then you can get started on your box right away. Or you can wait until you're done. Let me just put that aside. Okay, now I'm going to open the other side the same way. And you just want to be a little bit careful here not to tear anything, because you're actually going to put this box back together. Okay, and then the last part is up at the top here. I'm just going to pull this apart. And now I have my box all open. And I'll show you what I'm going to do with that in a second. Now, before we get to the box, you're going to cut some cardstock, and let me show you the different pieces that you're going to cut and what the dimensions are. First, you're going to cut 4 pieces for the inside of your box, and these 4 pieces are going to measure 5 inches by 4¼ inches. And these are going to be the pieces that are going to upholster the inside of the box. Then you're going to need 2 pieces that are 4¼ inch by 4¼ inch. And these pieces are going to be for the inside bottom of the box and for the outside bottom of the box. Now you're going to need some pieces to go around the perimeter of the box. The first one you're going to need is going to be a piece that measures 5½ inches by 9 inches. I'm sorry, but 5½ inches by 11 inches. And then what you're going to do with that piece is you're going to score it. You're going to score your first score line at 1 inch. 1 inch. Then your second score line is going to be at 5½ inches. And you can move that down a little bit so you can start like that. So that's your second score line. And your last score line is going to be at 10 inches. And this piece is going to be one of the main pieces that upholsters the outside of the box. Then you're going to need one last piece of cardstock, and that piece of cardstock is going to measure 5 inches by 9 inches. And you're going to score that piece at 4½ inches, which I've actually pre-scored here, so I'll just run it again like that. And those are the pieces that you're going to need to score for the outside of your box. Now you're also going to need some patterned paper pieces. Now this is where you can get very creative. If you want to make a holiday greeting card box, you can use some holiday paper. If you want to make a box to store baby items in the baby room, your baby's room, use pretty baby paper. You can do whatever you want and make it exactly the way you want to match your home decor. So these pieces are going to decorate the outside of the box, and they measure 4 inches by 4 inches. Okay. And then you're going to need a piece of patterned paper that's going to flip over the edges. And this piece of paper will measure 4¼ inches by 4 inches. And these pieces you're going to score at 2 inches. So I'll just score those now. There's one. Here's another one that measures 4 1/4 inches by 4, and I'm going to score that at 2 inches. These pieces are going to finish off the rim of your box and make it look just beautiful. And there's my last one. Okay, so now I have all of my cut pieces and all of my scored pieces ready to go. Now the next step is we're going to go back to that tissue box and we're going to cut, using a paper cutter, we're going to cut the top of this box off, and we're just going to follow the line that's already there for us. So what I like to do is I like to make sure that I can feel the edge of that piece right there up against the cutting blade. And then I'm going to cut the top off. So we don't really need the top. That's trash. We won't be needing that anymore. And let me move my paper cutter out of the way. Okay. Now the next step for this is, because we're going to upholster the inside of the box, and let me get those pieces ready to show you that. You're going to attach these pieces on the inside like that. But as you can see now, all of the seams are going to show. Now, if you like the natural color of the inside of the box, that's fine if you don't mind that. But if you'd like to cover that up, the easiest way to do that is to get a marker, and in this case I'm using a Copic marker in the color Cardinal, and Cardinal's a nice match for the Gina K Designs Cranberry Tart paper. You can take that marker and you can color right over the seams. And the reason why I like to use Copic markers for this is because I'm going to do this on the outside of my box too, where there's some seams on the bottom. And because the Kleenex box is shiny, it's a glossy cardstock, Copic markers really cover glossy cardstock really well, and they dry right away, so you don't have to worry about, you know, getting marker all over the place. Some markers are water-based markers and they won't color over glossy paper. So Copic markers work really well. You can also use any kind of solvent ink pad for this. Just rub the ink pad over the lines. Or you can leave them natural if you like that look. But now that I've started, I'm going to finish it up for you here. Just make sure you extend a little bit past the seam so that your pattern paper, your cardstock will completely cover and it'll just blend right together. Okay, just a little bit more here to do. And then our next step is to upholster the inside of the box. Okay, so now you can see when I put that piece of pattern paper there now, you don't see any of that raw edge. That's all finished off nicely now. See that?